Welcome, my digital pathology trailblazers. I have recently hosted a webinar, and there's going to be a full webinar series talking about different chapters of my book, Digital Pathology 101, Everything You Need to Know to Start and Continue Your Digital Pathology Journey. And this was a webinar about Chapter 4, Applications of Digital Pathology. Some of them might surprise you, so be sure to listen to the end. I thought I'm going to upload the audio version so that all of you who prefer the audio content can also benefit from this content. Let's dive into it. So digital pathology applications, and this is the topic of today's webinar, and it's based on a book. On the book I wrote last year, and this is actually based on chapter number 4 of the book. And let's see, I have a super cool tool. Let's see if it works. It kind of works. Okay, so anyway, it's chapter 4. Why do you start with chapter 4, Alex? Because you wanted me to start with chapter 4. There was a post on LinkedIn with all the different chapters and announcing, I don't know how long ago, so I apologize for the delay, that I'm going to be doing these webinars, that this is going to be also in video version because the book is available as normal book. You can also buy it on Amazon, but you can also get it for free through my website. So if you don't have the book yet, just comment book. Or go to my website. I'm going to let you know where that is later in the presentation. But basically, this is available in PDF for free. There is an option to just listen to this book on my podcast. This is all free. And if you want, let me show you. It's actually behind in this chapter. So to get the book, you can go to digitalpathologyplace.com. You just click here and it's going to prompt you to sign up and you can get the PDF immediately for free. Just letting you know about that. For those who don't know me, I kind of always assume that people know me because otherwise, why would you come to my webinar? But for those who don't, I'm Alexandra Żuraw. I'm a veterinary pathologist, board-certified veterinary pathologist, working in the digital pathology space since 2016. A digital pathology job for image analysis, supporting a team of image analysis experts was my first job after my residency, which I did in Germany, in Berlin. So hi to everybody from Berlin. I've been doing that ever since in one capacity or another. I also work as a toxicologic pathologist, and we're going to talk a little bit about this non-clinical application of digital pathology. I'm going to tell you what toxicologic pathologists do. But in the meantime, when I was switching jobs from my strictly digital pathology job to a less digital pathology involved job, I started my blog, Digital Pathology Place, the YouTube channel, and all the different social media presences, let's call it that way, to spread the word about digital pathology, to teach people about the digital pathology, and to bridge the gap between pathology and computer science. So that's about me. So when you think digital pathology, what do you see? I see personally a person doing annotations, because this is where I started my digital pathology journey. We want to do annotations. That's what I see. But actually, digital pathology is a lot more than that. So someone annotating images is somebody I see when I think about digital pathology. I also see image analysis markups on pathology images. This was where I started my digital pathology journey. And feel free to put in comments when there is something popping up in your mind. Just share it as a comment. I can then show the comments. And you can also ask questions whenever, we're at the beginning, so there's not going to be too many questions at the moment, but put your questions there and I'm going to be starring them. I have this option to put a star next to a question. And then at the end, when we have Q&A, I'm going to be pulling them out and answering all of them. So image analysis markups, this is what I think when I think digital pathology. A new thing is maybe a report written by a large language model. How about that? That's something that is not so far-fetched, not actually people, I know already companies that are working on it. Pathologists working on a tablet. Definitely, there are instances of dermatopathologists, of people who have validated viewing on tablets for diagnostic purposes, for different purposes. So definitely a part of digital pathology workflow. So it's not a mystery, not a secret, that it's all of the above and more. So I like to divide these applications, and this is how I put it in the book as well. There are clinical applications, which most of the diagnostic pathologists, both MD and veterinary pathologists who are doing diagnostics, this is the application that we're most familiar with. Research applications. So whenever there is any tissue research on tissue that needs to be visualized, different modalities, it can be H&E or different IHC, special stains, multiplex, whatever. This is what I think when I think research. Drug development applications. Hear me as a toxicologic pathologist, I subscribe to that one. And other. And I don't want to tell you now what this other thing is, because it's something I recently learned about, and I wanted to share with you. It's something different, out of the box application of digital pathology. So starting with clinical diagnostic applications, this is where veterinary pathologists started doing this, for example, for IDEXX in 2015. IDEXX is a big veterinary laboratory, and they started employing veterinary pathologists remotely through digital slides. And it just so happens that the system they were using, it was the Philips system, IntelliSight, was the same that got later in 2017, got the FDA clearance for primary diagnosis in human pathology, in MD pathology. So surgical pathology is what we all know. Scanners are being built for that, and you can just analyze scan tissue, analyze tissue, then basically you can do things with a digitized image. This is like the classical application, and a pathologist looking at a computer rather than at the microscope. There's another application, cytopathology. I still hear this reservation, objection about cytopathology, saying, hey, the scanners are not good enough. And you know what? Several of them probably are not good enough. And not for all the applications are they good enough, because I know colleagues who are particularly have been searching for a good clinical pathologies, and by clinical pathology, I want to contrast this to not clinical applications, but in contrast to anatomic pathology, where you don't have a flat tissue, right? You have smears, you have a more challenging specimen. So there is this preconception in the digital pathology world that cytopathology is not quite there yet, but I want to show you something that actually counters this. And everybody, I'm starring your questions. I already have one question that did start. Cytopathology is being used for example, I want to give you tangible examples. Some of the companies that I'm going to be mentioning, I do work with them, and you can see who I work with on my website. Some are just, I don't work with them, but I know what their work is. I just want to show you who in the market is doing that, so that when you meet them at a conference, meet them at the booth, you know that they have this, and you can see what they have, and you can check who else has that, and you can compare. Obviously, use your own judgment. But I was impressed. I was recently at the US CAP in Baltimore, the United States and Canadian Academy of Pathology conference. And obviously, all the pathology and digital pathology players were there, and this company, TechSight, was there as well. What they have a solution for cervical cytology. And when you go to the website, I don't think I have this. No, I have telepathology. When you go to their website, you will see what the workflow is, that they basically screen for different things, not only atypical cells and the typical cells. I mean, I'm not a cytopathologist, but basically, especially if you're a woman, you know what a pap smear is and what kind of abnormalities we're looking for. We're screening for cervical cancer. And this algorithm not only recognizes the different types of cells, it also recognizes some pathogens, like infectious pathogens. So I was impressed when I looked at their website, and just wanted to tell you that this is validated for multiple scanners, and you can see what it's validated for. But basically, one by one, cytology applications are showing up. So let me know in the comments if you have any experience with cytology, cytopathology, smears on digital slides, and was it a good experience or a bad experience? I acknowledge both. I'm just showing you that they are moving forward, and there are already applications. Moving on, there are telepathology applications. Telepathology was the starting point of digital pathology. This was in the 80s. I think in the 1986 was the year where Dr. Weinstein announced his telepathology system. Why did he develop the system? He wanted to be able to do central reviews for clinical trials. Basically, the inconsistency in clinical trials that, unfortunately, how many years after? 40 years, not yet 40, but almost after, is still an issue. But this was the first ever application of digital pathology, telepathology, and it wasn't even called digital pathology then because it was actually analog. But what can you do with telepathology today? Obviously, you can do something remotely that required presence of the pathologist before. So, for example, intraoperative consultations, the adequacy assessment of fine needle aspirates. And I want to show you an amazing digital pathology trailblazer, Dr. Beth Ploharczyk. She was a guest on my podcast, and she had, at the time when she implemented digital pathology, she was a one-person practice. Beth was a one-person practice. She was a two-person practice before COVID hit. It was difficult to hire, and she couldn't be in so many places at the same time. She was not able to help their patients, help the clinicians in assessment because she was helping two community hospitals at the time. She decided, okay, it's now time to go digital. What can I do to make my life possible and to actually attend to my duties? So she implemented telepathology with live viewing from a microscope that was in the hospital for intraoperative pathology assessment. And if you go to this podcast, that's, I think, 2 episodes before, you can learn more exactly what she used, where these devices are, which devices she used, and even how much it cost. But basically, I was so inspired by her because she was just a one-person show. I mean, one-person pathology practice that collaborates with community hospitals. And she said, okay, without digital, I basically cannot do my job. And the first thing she wanted to do was the telepathology because she had to commute in between 2 hospitals. And she couldn't do it because we only have 24 hours in a day. And she implemented this telepathology. And just to answer one question, can I get a certificate from this webinar? I can prepare certificates. Yeah. Whoever wants a certificate, let me know in the comments that you would like a certificate of attendance, and I'm gonna send you the certificate. My team is gonna take care of that. Another application. I so wanted to use this tool, guys. Really, let me see if I can do it better. Oh, okay, that's sad. I'm using the tablet. Okay, I'm gonna practice and show up better prepared next time. Now we're just going to use the mouse. You see my mouse, right? So the second application is second opinion consultations. Oh, I can do this. Okay. Second opinion consultations is like a dream scenario for telepathology. Dream scenario for telepathology. Why? Because you don't have to ship slides. And so what I learned recently from this podcast, I learned a lot from my podcast guests. And really, they expose me to aspects of digital pathology that I would have not have known before. And then I basically take it and let you know, because if I didn't know, chances are you didn't know. And if you know about stuff and I don't know, and you don't see me talking about it on YouTube or wherever, send me a message. Send me a message on LinkedIn or send me an email. Just let me know, hey, there was this publication. It would be good if you would cover it. So the second opinion, right? This is me with Dr. Raj Singh, talking about the new, new module of his software, Path Presenter. He's the founder of Path Presenter, and they just developed this capability for remote second opinion. So I learned from him that 30% of the pathology workflow and revenue in the large pathology institution in the US actually comes from second opinions. And the current workflow was slides are being shipped from the referring institution, then they are being assessed, accepted in the main institution. All the paperwork had to match, and then they would be put somewhere. Somebody would be assigned to then at some point look at those cases, and they would wait a long time. What they did a portal. They basically did a portal that the sending institution doesn't have to ship those slides anymore. They scan them, and they don't have to have a high throughput scanner, depending how many they send. If they send a lot, then they might want a high throughput scanner, but you have systems that you can basically attach to your microscope with microscope camera that allow you for whole slide scanning. So with such system, you can already tap into the pathology expertise in the US through remote second opinion, through consultations. And I don't know in your countries. I mean, I currently live in the US here. Greetings from Pennsylvania. Does it say PA? Yeah. But I'm originally from Poland. So in Poland, when you're a pathologist, you're a pathologist. You're not you're all pathologists. You are not as subspecialized as I have seen it here in the US. So basically, all the countries where this subspecialization is not a case do not have access to this level of expertise, this level of care. And this remote digital second opinion gives them access to that. So telepathology basically rules as an application of digital pathology in for just simple consultations. Telepathology would be like also taking a picture through your phone, and there are adapters. I have adapters. You can use that. So telepathology, no-brainer. It's being done at scale and increasing access to care, because now institutions can just log into that portal, then get connected to the institution that's taking that is the second or even third opinion giver, and they can do it. Moving on, of course, education and training. Digital for education and training is also something now. It's how else, right? But in the olden days, it wasn't like that. So when I was starting, the digital libraries for residents and students that are now, I think every university is capable of creating one, but there are also other ones, were not that common. So I did my PhD in Germany, in Berlin. And here is a screenshot from the website of the veterinary faculty in Berlin. And what they had, they would call it, they still call it, which it is what it is, a virtual microscopy. It's the same, right? So I went and was teaching students. I assume PhD students have to teach the non-PhD students, and that was part of our responsibilities. And there was, they had microscopes in a big lecture place, and they had to look at those slides, and there were a bunch of residents going from one microscope to the other, from one student to the other, showing them the cells. Oh, is this a neutrophil? Is this part of tissue? Whatever, right? So we would just they would look, they would put it somewhere. I would look into there and say, I don't know. Then I would find them a good one and say, this is one. So yeah, an interesting experience. And then at some point, somebody said, oh, I don't know. She was not, I don't remember exactly, but she had something with her eyes. She couldn't look at it. And she said, oh, I'm going to look at it online. And I'm like, what? Yeah, in the portal. So they have this virtual microscopy portal. And, that's nothing new anymore. But anyway, when I heard this portal, I felt so under-resourced at that moment, which is a limiting belief, because at that point I had internet. I was at this university. I had access to all the resources. And then when I started learning for my boards, I also used virtual slides. But I felt what? They have this virtual portal. And when I was learning pathology in vet school, I had to draw these things, and we didn't have digital cameras. So let me tell you, now we have digital cameras, and we don't have to feel that under-resourced, which was a stupid feeling. But that was the first thing that came up, like, I would be so much farther if I had access to this. So now almost everybody has access to this. There are open repositories. There are things that can be used also for continuing medical education through digital platforms. So one resource. This resource is actually not free. It costs $100 per year, which I gladly pay. It's the membership of the Digital Pathology Association, and they have this Digital Anatomic Pathology Academy. This is for MD pathologists, and there's a similar thing developed by the David Thompson's Foundation for Veterinary Pathology, which I should have showcased as well, and I didn't. Shame on me. Next time I will. So this Digital Anatomic Pathology Academy is a slide repository where, if you're a member, you can basically join. I think they even have, if you are from a low resource setting or a student, there are discounts. So you can totally take advantage of that, and it's out there, right? Another option is PathPresenter. PathPresenter is a platform for showing slides. And actually, this Digital Pathology Academy is built in collaboration with PathPresenter. They have this slide viewing image management software, and they are partnering with a lot of institutions, including the DPA. And they are also accessible for individuals. So I have an account. I have here a little star because even though this tool is free, and this is just for you to be mindful about using different tools, a lot of them are free, but they have terms and conditions. Read through those terms and conditions, because they basically communicate to you, okay, what are you agreeing to when you use this free tool? I think you can upload images in this platform, but then you should share it with the members as well. There are terms and conditions. Make sure you, for any tool, right? Whether free, open source. Open source is also like a big umbrella. Those tools are free, but they have different licensing agreements. Just read through these. These are commercial tools or non-commercial, but tools that have that are intellectual property, that have certain rules. So just wanted to emphasize that. So for example, my book is free, but you are giving me permission to contact you if you download it. And it's written, it's for compliance reasons, they always have to be those terms and conditions. But basically, I don't make you pay money for it unless you want to buy it on Amazon, but you are giving me permission to contact me. You can unsubscribe anytime. I hope you don't, because I love when you're engaged. So moving on. Another option where digital pathology is helping us is quality assurance and accreditation. So basically, if we would gonna go even higher level and systematize what is digital pathology used for, there are two big buckets. One, you don't have to exchange physical slides anymore. So the benefits of digitization. And the other one is you can do something with those digital images that you couldn't do with glass. And we're going to have these applications as well. But basically, everything that streamlines the glass shipping aspect is one big bucket. And the other thing is, okay, now we can analyze those images. So computational tools are can be implemented. So for this QA and accreditation, one application, for example, this is from Corista. Corista is also a digital pathology image management system company. They have a digital pathology blog. And here it was about proficiency testing in the digital pathology age. Proficiency testing is for pathologists to for the regulatory, I think this was CMS required this, and then College of American Pathologists had to implement it, and it was such a big hassle when exchanging glass. So they started doing this on digital, basically checking if pathologists are still diagnosing well. proficiency testing, if they're still proficient. And I love how Dr. Wilbur starts this. Don't get me wrong, based on the title, let me put it big here. Don't get me wrong, based on the title, I am not advocating for proficiency testing. After medical boards, resident in service, and board exams, I never thought I would be thinking about any more testing at all. There are better ways to test for ongoing real proficiency. Nevertheless, proficiency testing is something that is happening in the MD pathology world, and now digital pathology can be used for that as well. And that concludes the clinical applications. So let's move on to research applications. First thing where I started, digital image analysis. Digital image analysis, this is in the bucket where you can leverage computational tools. So when I did a search on PubMed and just put this term, digital tissue image analysis pathology, I found 10,354 results, and they date back to 1974. Obviously, here 2024, there are not so many yet because we are only at the beginning of April, but in the last couple of years, a lot of image analysis publications for pathology have been published, and I'm going to make it big so that you can actually see it. So yeah, 1,354 results. A lot of image analysis happening. And now that image analysis is powered by AI and machine learning, we not only can quantify the things that we see in the images, we can leverage AI and machine learning for predicting outcomes and prognosis. So let me show you what I found on PubMed for this query. The artificial intelligence and machine learning for predictive and prognostic pathology. So specifically this term, a lot less results, and 635. They will the kind of this research started in 1996, and it focuses, I mean, the most of this research was the last couple of years. So this is definitely picking up as well. And something that I am so excited about, and I've been talking about this since this publication actually was published. That was in 2003, 9 months ago. I was copying those LinkedIn posts today. So that was already 9 months ago that this happened. There was a publication in Journal of Clinical Pathology, Artificial Intelligence Molecular Analysis Tool Assists in Rapid Treatment Decision in Lung Cancer, a case report. And I saw it, a case report, like, really? Is this happening for real? Why was I so excited? Because this is an application where you can predict molecular properties of tissue from an image. And I've been talking to researchers that have been doing work on this for several years before. And at some point, and I was asking myself, why is it not yet implemented in the clinic? Like, what's prohibiting us? Because the pitch, or maybe it's not a pitch in science, but basically the promise was, well, now in countries where there's no access to molecular diagnostics, we can just do those image-based tests, and it's going to increase access to care. The question, do they have the computational resources in the places where they don't have molecular pathology resources, is another question for another discussion. But basically, I was like, okay, and here it is in this publication. 9 months ago, Dr. Barnitz Weissengren, this is a publication from Israel, they used a commercially available algorithm from Imagen AI, and they predicted molecular, I think this was IGFR mutation in lung cancer. How this happened, they had the digital slides, they ran the algorithm on it, and the algorithm pointed where what kind of mutation and where on the image it predicts this mutation. And they didn't take it already for granted. This was kind of a acceleration tool to do a rapid PCR for this particular mutation that the algorithm predicted and confirm it with an actual standard of care molecular method. It was confirmed, and they could start treatment, I believe, 2 weeks earlier than the normal workflow would be. The normal would be to do a next-gen sequencing of the tissue, and that would take 2 weeks. And then basically this patient with metastasis, it was metastatic cancer, would get the treatment 2 weeks later. So I was excited about this advancement very much. And I have questions here if I can give links to the papers. Yes, I have links for some on the screen, so you can make screenshots, but for those that I don't have, I will put them in the description, maybe on YouTube or wherever I'm going to be posting the webinar recording, and you'll be able to get it there. And I'm going to also send you an email about it. The molecular predictions are not science fiction anymore. Another thing, data management and high throughput analysis. So now you don't have to do things so data management and high throughput analysis. When you have those slides being scanned in the scanner and being then uploaded to somewhere, or I don't know, to the cloud or to your local server, wherever you're working, you can already start managing this data in a way that is based on the metadata in the slides. You can manage those slides by, for example, running algorithms during scanning or after scanning, or whatever your workflow design is, but you can basically prioritize cases when an algorithm detects something. So for example, for the cytology example that I gave you, you can totally prioritize everything that was detected as positive, whatever positive means for an algorithm, and you can start with these and then go through the negatives, right? So data management and high throughput analysis is being enabled in research. I mean, that was in clinical, but in research as well, especially in research supporting drug development, in collaboration and data sharing. This is also something that I take for granted. I take for granted that we can scan slides. So what I do in my day job as a toxicological pathologist, I evaluate the study, and then a part of the evaluation of the histopathological evaluation for drug development of non-clinical studies is a peer review. So a peer review is when some other pathologist looks at a portion of my data and they check if I did a good job, if it matches what they know. Usually they are, sometimes these are consultants, but usually they are people from the company that's actually working on this drug. They know a lot more about the compound, and they see, okay, does my interpretation match what they know about the compound? And for over a year, I've been doing these peer reviews digitally. Before, either the peer reviewed pathologist would come to where I was working for a couple of days. They had to leave their family if they had one, basically leave their wherever they were, go somewhere for 3 days, evaluate, meet with me, sleep in a hotel, and go back. Now eliminated because this can be done digital. So collaboration and data sharing, a huge advantage. And a collaboration and data sharing, this was for my personal benefit or professional benefit, but there are repositories, slides being created that can be shared. And one of those initiatives is Big Picture. Big Picture is a private public consortium in Europe, and you can find more information about it at bigpicture.eu. And they are building a huge slide repository with both clinical human pathology slides and veterinary preclinical slides. And they're going to be managing this database as a they call themselves honest broker, like a third party that manages the data but doesn't really have any incentive in so basically they have an instance of honest broker, and they want to help with a fair image and data management for algorithm development, so commercial entity can apply to get access to this, and the contributing institutions are contributing, and they're kind of managing huge consortium, 6-year-long project. I did interview the key stakeholders at the beginning of the project. I'm actually due to interview them. And nonprofit organization, yes, nonprofit. Thank you, Mandeep, for your comment. Anyway, so there's this, right? But what if this is like a coordinated effort where you had to apply, there were grants associated and big consortium, right? But what if you did not make it into the big picture? Can you still benefit from collaborations and data sharing? Well, it turns out, yes, you can. And there are methods that are super complementary to the central data repositories. And the central data repositories, this is not the only one. There are other ones. That one is in Europe. There are others happening in parallel. But not everybody can get access to the central, and maybe they want to have a smaller scale collaboration, and maybe their regulatory authorities don't let them do like this data sharing, right? So there's something called swarm learning, which is a way of decentralized model training for histopathology. And soon enough, a podcast with Oliver is going to come out, and he's going to be explaining what this swarm learning actually is. But basically, it's a model. I'm not giving it justice because I'm not a computer scientist, but swarm learning is when you kind of send the knowledge of the model to different institutions to look at the different institutions' slides, gain the knowledge, teach the central model. And it also uses blockchain, so that not like one institution's. So this contrasts to so-called federated learning, where you have like a central instance that like sends the model and the knowledge is being brought to the central instance. Whereas this swarm learning, they didn't like the central instance idea. So they send the model and the knowledge is then distributed. And this is happening through blockchain. So when I have Oliver, I mean, I already had him on the podcast. I'm going to be publishing it soon. He's going to explain it. Drug development applications. And we have 15 minutes. I have to be mindful of your time because we are all busy and I don't want to go over. Drug development application and preclinical studies. This is what I already started talking about. Preclinical studies are kind of a lot less known drug development application because when in 2019, I went to the Pathology Vision Conference and I had a poster about digital pathology in drug development. People didn't know what preclinical studies are. So when you think of a drug development funnel, here are like all the different compounds that chemists, let me make it bigger, that chemists are working on and ideas of compounds, it's not beautiful. But anyway, very few of them makes it farther. Let's call it, I'm going to give my preclinical and then, and there are a couple of different categories. Let me just get rid of this because I'm embarrassed. But let's call it all ideas and then preclinical. This is clinical trials. And here is, let's say this is FDA. That's okay. FDA, right? So if you look at, here's like maybe 10 of thousands or 10,000s or tens of thousands. Here we're going to have 99 compounds. Here we're going to have 10, and here maybe 1 to 3 are going to actually make it into the pharmacies. And this is what I do here, preclinical. So we look at a lot of slides. We look at many, many slides. So one study is a lot of animals. So and a lot of slides. And they are being evaluated in a different way than a diagnostic workflow. So I basically want to compare different groups of animals that had different treatments. And my biggest pain point when it comes to digital pathology, when it comes to working with the study is that there was a lot of slides and I had to then, like, when I identify which organ was affected, I had to compare them across all the groups. So my biggest pain point was sorting those slides. I would have boxes of slides on my desk and would like take them out and put them in little groups, then mix them to review them blindly. Digital pathology solved this super huge pain point for me by this sorting ability. So here you can see, you can basically sort by different things. And these different things for sorting, I mean, it's also a useful feature for MD pathologists, but it's like you get your maps for diagnostic purposes, and we get boxes of slides where we have to like compare slides of the same organ to another. So in preclinical, the sorting is the power, because the microscope versus digital, it has to be equivalent, and it cannot be slower, because I have colleagues that are super fast. I mean, everybody who has a lot of experience with microscope is going to be super fast. The sorting is the superpower of digital pathology for preclinical. May sound not that like sexy, but that's what it is. The sorting saves me days. Clinical trials is where digital pathology started. We already mentioned this, but unfortunately, it didn't diffuse into clinical trials all the way and for like all the aspects. So when I was doing review for you, then the origin where it started was for central pathology review. And what is that actually? The central pathology review in clinical trials is where the clinical trial pathologists actually have to check all the slides in and say, hey, yeah, this is actually the entity that we are recruiting for. There has to be a confirmation. And unfortunately, currently, most of central reviews occur after implementing patient management decisions. So too late, and more like for quality. And this publication is from 2019, right? So it's already old. Maybe I like to think that stuff changed in those 5 years, right? 5 years, 5. Yeah. So anyway, sad story. It's not real time rather than real time. It's not real time. Should be real time. So to me, this is also a no-brainer application of digital pathology. Another thing that I recently learned about is, and those who are working in the healthcare system, they know that when a patient with a pathological diagnosis is referred to another hospital, the slides need to go with him, and the receiving pathologists need to look at the slides, and they need to confirm that this is actually that they agree, right? I didn't know. So when is it a problem? For example, when the hospital that the patient is being referred to is like 50 miles, so you can get there in 1 hour, whereas if you ship the slides with all the information with FedEx, it's going to take you 3 days or 2 days or whatever. Like the patient is already there waiting for the treatment or whatever it's going to be that's going to happen with them in this new hospital, but they're waiting for slides. So definitely application, this digital, this was for clinical trials, but also just in general, remote pathology digital review. In clinical trials, I also spoke with a Dr. Monica. I think she's on this webinar, Monica. She was my guest talking about clinical trials, and she was talking about the potential, about where it is actually already implemented, where she wishes it was implemented, and where she actually works on actively implementing this. It's not across the board. That was the sad message. Good message, potential to go and revolutionize that, help patients, and reap the benefits of streamlining clinical trials, which also is connected to pharma industry, which does get funding, right? Biomarker quantification and companion diagnostics. This is also a big application that is happening in the drug development space, especially in the era of immuno-oncology treatments, in where we want to find a cohort of patients that's actually gonna react well to a particular drug. So there are companies, for example, that would, there are drugs that would fail clinical trials because the response did not occur in enough patients. But in the patients where the response actually happened, it was an amazing response. but the drug failed clinical trials because not enough people actually reacted. How do you find out who's going to react? So then other company figures out a way to stratify those patients, gets this drug, and has it in clinical trials again. So this is biomarker, different dimensions of biomarker quantification, right? So I come from IHC quantification, multiplex IF quantifications, but there's like all the other different multiplexing strategies that can help you quantify biomarker, that can help you figure out what are the properties, what are the characteristics of the patient's immune system that make them react to something, and which make them not react to this. When you know this, you can then design a test. And this test is companion diagnostic. So basically, before applying a drug, you test if the person is going to react to this drug positively or negatively. And then depending on the test result, you either give it or not. It basically informs the treatment decision. So big application. And I found this article for you in Drug Discovery and Development. This is an online publication. So something I've learned, and I mean, it's common sense. Online publications do not carry the same weight as printed publication. And I'm not only talking about peer-reviewed journals, I'm also talking about articles in respectable newspapers, like, I don't know, New York Times comes to my mind, Washington Post, anything that's big. They do not scrutinize the online content as much as they do the printed content. So just, food for thought, online information is less vetted. Obviously, I'm active enough in the online space and read enough on this topic and read information that were scary, how much unvetted information is out there. Nevertheless, this I don't think is a dangerous piece of information and obviously a respectable company is not going to put things out there into the internet if they're actually not doing it. So Roche, a big diagnostic and pharmaceutical company, the companion, they have a partnership with PathAI. PathAI is a digital pathology company, and they are starting a companion diagnostic collaboration. So they basically work on companion diagnostics. I don't think they know, and this is a fairly recent announcement from March 28, 2024. Maybe they have something in the pipeline, but basically they go and screen all the drugs if we can figure out ways to stratify the patients better, and they have a structured collaboration for that. So the thing with companion diagnostics, I think many companies get, the benefit is huge. The probability of actually finding this biology, there's no guarantee. I mean, I don't know what the probability is, but there is no guarantee to find biology behind some phenomena, right? So there is a significant risk associated with that. When there's a success, it's a great success. So, okay, 3 minutes, guys. I messed up on timing, but that's okay. I see some people need to go. There's going to be a recording. Let me finish. Yeah. So if you can stay for the other application that I recently learned, and that's the last application before we have a Q&A for whoever can stay, legal applications. What do I mean with legal applications? Well, there is something, a company called Blind Review. How did I learn about this company? Well, I talked with the CEO of the company, Stephanie. We talked on the phone, and she told me that she's actually using digital pathology for blind reviews. What does this company do? This company is, she's a lawyer. She was a defense lawyer for medical malpractice cases. And that's what she did for her whole career. She sold out her partnership in the firm where she was working. And she decided that her impact is going to be bigger if she can provide other legal professionals with experts that are unbiased. And where does the bias come in? So there is and she's going to be on my podcast, so she will explain it a lot better, but I wanted to mention this to you. So a physician is making a decision on a patient. They get one piece of information at a time, one piece of information, one test result at a time. and then they make a decision based on this test result, right? And then they take informed action and do other things that they think are appropriate to save this patient, to help this patient. When an expert witness reviews a case, they have all the information together. So they know what the outcome of care was, they know how it started, and they basically work their way back through the case. And what happens when you know the outcome? The confirmation bias is in action. This is, nobody is immune to this. But basically, you see, because you know the outcome, you see all the indications that could have pointed to this outcome. Whereas a person who was working with this patient, who was treating this patient in real time, there is a saying, if you hear the hooves outside your window, it's probably horses and not zebras, right? Would there be an indication for the zebra in the other test results? Probably, maybe, who knows? You think of horses first, right? So this is how the patient gets treated, but this is not how a case in court is being reviewed. So what she decided to create, and she partnered with a presenter to make a portal where the experts that she works with get this piece of information information at the time, and they make decisions as close to the reality of the treating physician as possible. And she had this portal for all the other types of data already, and she started looking, hey, is there an option to do it for pathology? Because even if pathologist is not the person that was sued, there is going to be a pathology component in most of the cases. How can we make it happen in a blind way? Well, with digital pathology, because shipping slides was not manageable. So that's the other application. I didn't leave too much time for question and answers, and I actually need to go because there's going to be a special I apologize for that. Next time I'm going to do better. I just want to mention to you that there's going to be a question and answer session for Digital Pathology Club members. Right now, I'm already 1 minute late. And this is a course subscription that I have where all the courses that I have created are available. Plus, we have a community. You can access it on the phone, and we're going to be doing this Q&A session right now. So if you are in this membership, if you are a Digital Pathology Club member, you already got the invitation and you're probably waiting for me there. So I apologize for that. If you want to join the membership, you can do it. There are two ways of doing it. First, if you work for any of these companies, we work together, and the agreement we have, everybody who works for them gets access to the membership. So if you are at Procia, Hamamatsu, Smart in Media, Epredia, and Aphoria, you should be member of the club, or send an email right now to my assistant, Annie Barzaga, annie@digitalpathologyplace.com, and she's going to add you to the club, and she's going to send you the link to the Q&A. And if you don't make it this week, you can make it next week. I'm trying to make the regular option. And there's an option to become a member of the club if you go to digitalpathology.club, or when you get the book, after getting the book, you will be redirected to join the membership. So with that, I apologize for not having a proper Q&A, but let's do this. So I have marked all the questions with a star. I'm going to be exporting them, and I will figure out a way to answer them, either in an email or somehow in a video, or I will answer them. And next time, I'm not going to be doing this, that I'm going over time. And the third way is, if you're watching the replay of this, put the questions in the comments. I'm going to have my team monitor and answer all the questions. So whoever asks the questions, you will get an answer. And I talk to you next time. I'm planning to do this next week, so stay tuned. I'm going to let you know. Bye-bye.